Well, let's give it a shot. Not much going on a Monday, but we'll see if we can find a successful trade today. Once again, we are Signals. We do live over under basketball games. Talk a little bit more about that as the stream goes on. Just wanted anyone who's seeing this live to look at our disclaimer. And please pause the stream to read the disclaimer if you're not familiar with it. But I will read out the last paragraph. We are neither licensed nor authorized to provide any investing, trading, wagering, and or betting advice whatsoever. All of the information contained within this broadcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. By subscribing to any of our alerts, notices, and or signals, you confirm that you understand that it is possible to lose some or all of your money when investing in any sports markets, and you further acknowledge that you cannot hold Signals liable or responsible for any such losses. So let's take a look at our platform. I'm going to use BET365 today. Not many games going on, and Bet365 seems to have the most of the games on there. I have a live account with them. I have live accounts with many online brokers, as should you, to always try and find the best lines and the best action. Not much action today, but these guys seem to have most of them. Solid platform. So let's work with this one. See if we can find anything today. As we move along, I will point out what we're looking at and what we see as potential. For anyone who's seen these broadcasts before, I've only done two. The first one was quite successful, actually. Second one was a bust. Two games that should have been obvious winners. We had such an edge; it wasn't even funny, and they didn't come in. Happens, but they didn't, and the other two were not even close. So should have been a 2-2 day. It was not. So let's see what we can do today. I haven't streamed in at least a week's time, if not longer. But here we go. As you can see, the very few games here at all to concern yourselves with, but I'm watching on the other computer, which you do not see on your screen, and I will advise the second we're interested in something. So just going to go to the game because I can't pronounce the names half the time. There, this one here is interesting. We're down to 1 minute and 21 seconds. We're looking at the third quarter total here on this one. I mean, it's not tremendous in terms of the signals. The indicators that we look at are not screaming out to us, but there's some potential there, so we're going to take a look at it. I'll let you know if there's any reason to act. If we do anything with this particular game, it'll be a half a unit play. We like to divide our signals in three full units, 3/4 units, and half unit. Half unit being the riskiest, which is what this play would be. And there are various reasons for that. How we grade our trade opportunities based on our in-house algorithm. But this one will be strictly a half unit. If it goes off, no urgency to act right now. It's you'll notice that we take almost exclusively overs. We say over underlines, but we take almost exclusively overs. Unders are problematic for a number of reasons. The the focus and emphasis on basketball, as we all know, is to and more so every day, is to score points. The more media coverage, the more live broadcasts, the more the fan base increases in a game like basketball, which it is doing everywhere around the world. The more fans want to see points scored, not defense played. So overs are predominantly what we're looking for. Yeah, this game's not going to happen. It wasn't a tremendous opportunity anyway. We're looking at over 34.5 on this one, and we're at 38.5. So and there's 46 seconds left. It's pointless even considering this one. It's just not going to happen. So let's go back to our main screen, move on. I don't see any need to fool around with this one. All right, well, let's move back to our friends, the Coupe de France with Nancy versus Antibes. I was looking at this game before streaming earlier this morning, and the scoring was not particularly convincing. Lots of missed shots, lots of really, really slow and grinding possessions, none of which favors what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish here. But let's see what we can. So we're gonna watch this one. Decent internals here. We'll see what develops. It was a slow start to the quarter, and they have picked up the scoring just a little bit, which has moved the over line to 30.5. It was 28.5. It's now 30.5. And it continues to move up. So our first signal in this one would be an over signal, and this would be a 3/4 unit play, not a full unit, but a 3/4 unit, and the number's over 27.5. So here's our bet. You'll never see me place a live bet on the monitor that I display. I place it. Well, anyway, let me explain to you how I place it. But 27.5 is the number, so you're looking at over 27.5. And the reason, let's stick with this just in case it comes off. But so you're looking at over 27.5. If over 27.5 comes up, you'd be willing to take a shot on this. Looks really close here. So while the line is suspended, there's a foul, going to be a couple of free throws here. The reason I don't place the bet on the computer that you're watching, it's too cumbersome. The line changes, you have to press accept changes, and after you press accept changes, the line comes up, and then you have to press take bet. It takes too much time, and you'll miss too many bets. So it doesn't matter what computer you use to place that bet. You're going to miss as many as you get, and that's never a good thing. So what I do and what I advise everyone to do is, if you're using Bet365, only trade with your phone or some other mobile device like A tablet works as well, but not a computer, not a Windows-based tablet. It wouldn't. It would be the. You'd have the same problem. You'd have to accept changes and then place bet. It's 27 and a half, right? So we're close here. It's a possibility that will go off. 3/4 units, but the scoring is not particularly compelling. I'd be I'm reluctant to take it, even though it's about to come off here, just because there's not much going on. I I advise you to err on the side of caution here, because there's no indication that anyone's interested in scoring. There's 27 and a half. The line has gone up. And I'm going to try and take it, see if I get it. So I have 27 and a half. Obviously, it was easy to get because there's no scoring. This doesn't 26 and a half now, if you still haven't taken it, if you're on the fence on this one. I will not add a 26 and a half or 25 and a half or 24 and a half. Once we commit to the bet, and we don't not going to add to our position. As I said before, this is a 3/4 unit play. It doesn't look at all. It doesn't look at all promising. Not to be a pessimist or a downer, but this one is looking iffy at best. So we're in at 27 and a half. Like I mentioned, we'll watch what happens. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to mention the reason why we take the bet on the phone is because I don't know if it's the case with an iPhone, but certainly with an Android device on Bet365's platform. It's just one click. It's accept changes and place bet. So you press once, boom, you get the bet. If as opposed to the computer, where you have to accept changes, and then the changes are made, and then the amount pops up, and then it says place bet. Sometimes it'll even clear your bet amount because you had to accept changes, and it wants to make sure that you're not getting ripped off. And so it's designed for the protection of the customer, but it's also designed for instances where you have time to react. It's not designed for what we do. We need to be lightning quick. So we'll see what happens. So the scoring is obviously not keeping pace with what we would need to see. So it's I wasn't expecting I wasn't expecting a tremendous result here. I certainly did have my doubts, and it's not looking great. So it's looking like an 0-1 start. The reason we're sticking with this game is because we don't place 2 trades at a time. We don't add, and we don't add to our position, and we don't play a second game until the outcome of the first result of the first game is known. That 26 and a half, I can't remember if we saw 25 and a half. 25 and a half looks like it could come into play. 26 and a half is iffy, and ours 27 and a half is like an outside chance on a 3/4 unit play. Just no scoring. So we'll see what happens. In terms of the quality of this bet, as I mentioned, it's a 3/4 unit play, and um, I again, we're a black box. I'm not going to disclose to you the indicators that we use and how we grade them. They're all various indicators, and they're all graded at different. There are different ratios for grading them, but certainly, in terms of most of those internals, fairly solid, all fairly solid, except for the scoring pace. And anytime you're looking at a game where in an international basketball game where the scores are likely to be under 30 in a quarter, red flags. Between 30 and 40 is great. Between 40 and 50 is wonderful, and over 50 is exceptional in terms of our opportunities for overs. You would think that'd be counterintuitive, that you would be looking for lower totals to beat in an over situation, but it's not. It actually works best if they are running up and down the floor and hitting all the time. This game has been anything but that. They're not hitting. They're missing a lot of shots, and it's a high risk play in terms of the totals that are up there. So that's all I'll say for that. But anyway, we did put a 3/4 unit play on in this one. Everybody saw it live, available for tons of time. You couldn't possibly have missed 27.5 if you were interested in this thing. In fact, there was 26.5, and I believe I can't really remember if there was or not. There might have been 25.5 as well. So we're in, and we'll see what happens. It's obviously going to take a little bit of luck here for it to happen. I mean, problem with this type of bet, when you're betting an over or an under, well, again, it's disclosing strategy and such, but you've got to consider team play patterns, and it takes a lot of research to understand how teams play. Well, someone just hit a 3, and so we are at 28, which makes our 27.5 a winner with 15 seconds to go in the third quarter. So it's interesting how they play out. Obviously, at the time we took the play, it seemed likely in terms of a 3/4 unit play, not a full unit play. Within a minute after that, it seemed extremely unlikely that this was going anywhere. And at the end of the day, the teams played. You let it play out, and we are over 27.5. So the first play is a winner. Still 7 seconds in the quarter. Likely to be some free throws, or not. And that's it. So quarter goes off in 28 points. If you're new to over/under betting and what we do, you'll say, "Oh, you just barely won. You won by half a point." Conversely, I could say in instances where we lose by half a point, "Oh, bad beat. We lost by half a point." In over/under betting, there's no such thing as a lucky win or a bad beat. Whether you win by a half a point, or you win by 3 points, or you lose by a half a point, or you lose by 5 points, the algorithm is designed to calculate the moment at which the scoring for the quarter hits its apex, and so you have you have that sweet spot in the line that we're trying to capture. So it is the algorithm is designed to be exactly where the number should end up on the quarter, and then we wait for that edge, which the algorithm discloses. And once we have that edge, we take it. So it's not unusual at all to be successful by a half point or a point and a half. Happens all the time. And similarly, it's not unusual to lose by a half point or a point and a half. That happens as well. Of course, hopefully not as frequently. Otherwise, there's no value to the algorithm because we're not here to be 50-50. We need for this to be profitable, as we all know. If you're doing this as a business, which we are, you need to score at a rate of 57% or above, which this algorithm currently does. Anyway, so we're 1 for 1. That's a winner on this slow Monday. Let's move on. Get back to our games. For those who don't watch, we'll provide a little more insight. The algorithm is designed to identify Q2 and Q3 over/under opportunities. Q1 doesn't provide us with enough data for which to analyze, so the algorithm will not yield out Q1 numbers because we have that feature turned off. It's of no benefit. It's literally like flipping a coin. We don't flip coins around here, and neither should you. So Q1 is out. Q2, Q3 we do. I'll explain why we don't do Q4 except in exceptional circumstances in a minute. Let's see if we can find something else for our loyal viewers and hopefully future subscribers. Just clicked on this game, seeing what's going on. See if there's any potential. Yeah, for a whole bunch of reasons, I would argue that this game is very much flawed and not something that we should be interested in. The algorithm generates signals, and in an ideal world, it's a perfectly objective world. Either you have a signal or you don't, and either you have a signal strength and you abide by it, or you don't. But the business of trading, the psychology of trading, and the discipline of trading is very much subjective. Everybody's different. Some people will prefer to have the algorithm a little more loose so that it generates more signals because these traders are risk takers, and they don't mind losing a little more frequently because they know that they'll win. They'll still win a bit more than they'll lose, and based on their money management personalities and the way that they like to wager and manage their accounts, they know that they'll end up much further ahead than those who are ultra conservative, prefer to have the fewest amount of signals possible, but the highest degree of accuracy possible. And who can argue with either? It's a personal style, and you have to be comfortable with what it is you do. And the only thing I can say is, for God's sake, stick with your strategy, whatever it is. Do not waffle and waver back and forth from one strategy to another. Your process should be your process, and it should be something that you follow without exception. Just looking for a second opportunity here. This stream is not intended to be very long. It's a Monday. It's already 12:30 Pacific time here. Most international games will be done by, at least in terms of Europe, will be done by 1:30, maybe 2 o'clock the latest. So it'll be a light schedule. Started around noon, probably go till 1, give it another half hour, see if we can get another one off. It's a light schedule. No one's missing out on anything. These so nothing happened on this one. I should get back to our main screen. These Italy regional U20 games, there are so many of these games each and every day. I have no idea how big this league is. I really should look into it more. The reason I haven't is because this particular set of games, the scoring varies tremendously. You'll have a team that scores 100, literally 100 points one day, and they can't score 40 the next. It's bizarre, and it's been difficult for the algorithm to calibrate. Strength of schedule, strength of team. It's crazy stuff. And as you can imagine, there are so many indicators that go into it. So, I mean, I will call out signals in respect of these particular games as I will any other, but I will also caution people when the signals come up in respect of these games, because my own personal experience has been that it wavers dramatically. Oh yes, and I was talking about Q4. We rarely generate signals for Q4 because if you do a lot of over under basketball betting, whether it be international basketball or whether it be NBA or NCAA, you will notice that the sports book automatically, arbitrarily elevates the line in Q4 significantly by a number of points. And this has all kinds of implications in terms of what the ultimate over-under total will be. And we take it into account. Again, we're a black box. I don't intend to disclose what it is we do, but I will give you a piece of advice, and that would be to be very cautious when you're betting the overall game total, because the lines change dramatically. Q1, Q2, Q3 are relatively stable and similar. Q1 we don't care about, of course. Q2, Q3 very, very stable and very repeatable in terms of formulaic analysis by an algorithm. Q4, all bets are off, and for that reason, we tend to stay away unless there's an obvious anomaly or inefficiency that the algorithm has spotted, in which case we would call it out, but that will happen only in exceptional circumstances. When there's a bunch of silence, it's just me looking at the main computer, which has the algorithm and which runs all of these games. If there's a game of interest that we're looking at, I'll pull it up on the screen that's being shared, and we'll all talk about it. In the interim, go about your business. I'll do the same, and if there's something to report, I'll be on it. So I'll give you an example of a game we're looking at, algorithms. all over this one. So it's this Italian regional U20 game. As I said, one of these U20 games. So we're looking at the over for the first half, which is currently 81.5. So that's the number we're looking at, down to 80.5. You can be the again, we know why it is what it is. At this particular point, we'd consider this one, if it does go off, to be a strictly a half unit play, and it doesn't have anything. It's not so much because it's one of these U20 Italian regional games as much as it is by what's going on in the game. Number's fairly high too to achieve, so we'll see if there even is a signal. So let's keep an eye on this one, though. It's got some potential. I work from an office that's got windows on 3 sides, and feel like I'm in a fishbowl. I've got a couple of people looking at me laughing. As you can probably tell by my streaming, I'm not a public speaker, and I don't have any history with streaming whatsoever. So if you're looking for some compelling action on the play-by-play, you've come to the wrong place. On the other hand, I am an excellent trader, if I do say so myself, and this algorithm is also equally excellent. So between the two of us, the algorithm and myself, hopefully we can provide viewers and subscribers with some great trading opportunities where we will have a distinct edge over the sportsbook. It'll probably be boring as hell, but I've got no problems with that. As we mentioned in some of our tweets, no drama, no emotion, purely objective sports betting is where we feel we want to be. Hopefully those of you who have an interest in what it is we do feel the same way. If you like what you see, perhaps not what you hear, but if you like what you see, we're happy to, we're thrilled to have you join us. This game's dwindling down. I haven't called out a thing because there really isn't anything. Yeah, this is strictly a half unit play. I believe we're about to get a signal. There's not much there. So over 82.5 on this one. It's 82.5. I know we had 82.5 earlier while we were talking and I was observing the game, but we didn't have a signal. And you can say, oh, you missed out. We had 82.5. Look at it now. It's at 85. But we're chasing, trying to get to 82.5. That's not the point. We didn't have a signal because there were compelling reasons not to take the trade at that time. Things change, things evolve. It can get worse, it can get better. It just depends. You've got to get into the habit of never chasing trades, of never adding on to positions, of allowing the process to unfold and be itself. Again, we're looking at 82.5 here. There's an outside chance that this could We're down to 217 on the time in the quarter. If this gets down to 208 and it's at 82, we'll probably get it off. There's no way 83. I mean, you'll have to be super quick here if you see 83, 82. I mean, and with the so there's a foul, couple of free throws. Nothing you could do. We were literally 4 seconds away from getting 82 and a half. The foul at the 204 mark took that away, put it to 85 and a half. Obviously, with 77 points scored, 82 and a half is a realistic possibility. Obviously, 85 and a half is a long shot at best. But we wouldn't. There was no time to take the under, and you wouldn't take the under anyway. There was no signal for the under, but with the way the game is progressing, it's quite conceivable that they could even get there. In any event, we probably missed this signal by. The whistle at 204 is what cost us this signal. Otherwise, we'd be in at 82 and a half, and you're looking at 77 with 146. So we would have had an edge there. Clearly, but it didn't come off. But patience is a virtue. Discipline and execution is what we're all about. We were disciplined. We were ready to go at 82 and a half, and our execution was perfect. The number just never came up, and we didn't chase when there was that whistle at 204. You could have taken 84 and a half, and then 85 and a half, but that's not the signal. I hope no one went ahead and had itchy trigger finger and did that. And we're probably going to run out of games here. Just pulled up another game that's in Q3, but there's nothing going on there. We should have no interest whatsoever in this game, so I'll take that one off. In the Coupe de France, Strasbourg and Lyon are obviously excellent international basketball teams. They also play in the Eurobasket and the Basketball Champions League, so they're good teams. I think they're in. Yeah, I think they're Eurobasket or France National One. Either way, they're good teams. So we're gonna want to watch this game. Nice close score too, which is another thing we'd like to see. Everything else is Q4, as you can see. Nothing going on. These Italian regional games are about to go to halftime, and we didn't get any halftime, any first half lines. Well, we did, but we couldn't get one off. Again, it would have been 80. Can't remember what I was calling. Was it 82 and a half? It's at 81. 22 seconds left. It's going to take a basket though to get it. It's still, like I said, it's still there. It is there. That's at 84. So that one would have been a winner had there not been a whistle at 204. So it's encouraging. Psychologically, it's encouraging. We're essentially right where we want to be with the algorithm. Yeah, we missed taking this trade because there was that whistle at 204. As soon as there was a foul, they adjusted. So the book adjusted its line immediately by the 2 points, protecting against both free throws being made, which is in fact what happened, which made the line disappear. It moved it up by 2. That wasn't the point though. We weren't looking for 84 and a half. We were looking for 82 and a half. And if you just follow me here a bit and try and follow the rationale, the reason we didn't jump on it at the 204 mark when it went up to 84 and a half, even though we had the free throws to be to be shot. Number one, you can't assume that both free throws were going to be made, whereas the sports book assumed that. Number two, we weren't, our line wasn't 82.5 because we were anticipating a foul. The line was 82.5 based on a whole bunch of other internal indicators, not the least of which was pace of play and pace of scoring. And so had we jumped on the 84.5 on the assumption that, well, 82.5, 84.5 is the same thing. There's a whistle. They're going to hit both free throws, and I'm right back at 82.5. That's not how it works. That would be chasing, and you're not going to have optimal results if you do too much of that. And I just want to point out the proof of that is that they did score 84. 84.5 is not a winner, but 82.5 would have been a winner, again by about 1.5 or so, which is typical for what it is we do. On the one hand, my play-by-play commentary is not particularly compelling. On the other hand, our bets are, because it's going to be they're all extremely close. You'll either just barely lose or just barely win. And if you stick with us, you'll see that you'll just barely win a lot more than you'll just barely lose. And that's the fun. If you're looking for some drama and some emotion, well, forget about being invested in the teams, the players, the leagues, the standings, or anything like that. We don't care for anything like that. But you could be invested in the pure math involved in the process. You're always going to be close within, as I say, a point or two on either side. So that's interest enough. And the fact that your bottom line in your account should grow should be enough to make it all that much more interesting for anyone who's watching right now, or who will watch at a later date. So absolutely nothing to go on right now, right? Because we've got the Iceland game, which is in Q4. We've got the Poland game also. Well, it's just finished Q4. That's done. We've got the Israel National Cup game, also Q4, done. Our two Italian U20 games are at halftime. Who knows how long the halftime break will be? They vary tremendously from day to day. If you do this enough, you'll if you're with us enough, or if you do this on your own enough, you'll notice that for yourselves. And the Norway game is already beyond the ability to take a Q3 bet. And even as I said in that one, there were a few reasons why this one was not a candidate in any event. We didn't miss anything here. There never was going to be a signal here. I can confirm that with 100% certainty. So just to recap and belabor the point, we're 1 for 1. First one was successful. Second one, we almost had a second trade, so we're psychologically we're 2 for 2, because the second one we missed getting the ability to take it by a whistle at the 2:04 mark. Had that whistle not gone, we had almost a certainty of being able to get that bet off, and it would have worked. So all good stuff. So our Strasbourg game's our only game right now that matters to us. No line up currently for Q3. Obviously, they're adjusting. The book is adjusting its line, and there we go. So it's got over 42.5. And I mean, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of good things going on with this game that make it interesting. So we'll see if the over number that the book is offering versus the over number that our algorithm generates can meet somewhere in between, and we can take this bet. At this point, we don't have a signal. But let's watch this one. This is all we got. This is likely to be our last one. So let's see if we can get this one. Going to be a short and to the point stream. Anybody watching at this point, after the Strasbourg game goes off, if we get a signal and we are in a trade, we'll probably call it there. If we don't get a signal after the Strasbourg game, I'll stay on for the two Italian regional U20 games to see if we get a Q3 signal. But that will be it for the day. There will be no more European games starting at this late an hour. There will be some South American games and such beginning shortly, but it's not optimal stream time for us, and so it's not likely going to be part of our broadcast schedule. But for those of you who have an affinity for international basketball, South American games will be coming on around 2:00 Pacific, and there's always some good action there, particularly Argentina. Every South American country has a bunch of games, but Argentina has a ton. There's 2-3 leagues there that have a ton of teams that go up. Let's get back to our game. So we're looking at Strasbourg versus Lyon, and the number's highlighted. It's 37.5. That's not our number. There is no signal. Basically, just watching the clock wind down. I don't think we're going to see a signal here. Unfortunately, with this timeout, there isn't anything else that I can turn to that we can discuss. We're literally waiting on this one game to play out, and as I mentioned, it's looking almost certainly to not yield a signal. So even this is pretty much an exercise in futility. So we'll have the Italian regional games, the U20 games, which are at halftime to look to. On the bright side, the second game, Blue versus Lesmo, are that game is has a lot of internal indicators that are strong and that could yield a signal. The first game, the Victoria Torino game, is can't say the same for that game. It's looking seriously flawed. I don't know that we'd do with anything with that one anyway. Strasbourg. We've got a stoppage in play at 3:01. There'll be no more bets at the 2-minute mark. The book takes away the game, and that'll be that. You'll notice that the time at which the bets are removed vary significantly from book to book. For Q2 and Q3, which is what we're interested in, many books will take no more bets either at the 4-minute mark or the 3-minute mark. Bet365, as I said, it's a solid platform, a solid book. They do allow bets to be taken all the way down to the 2-minute mark, which is particularly advantageous. So we like that. And there's my my pal and buddy. My dog here is barking at a strange visitor who can see me here through my fishbowl. So we're down to 219, and there's nothing of any interest here. This game's not happening. So 19 seconds left. Let it play out. Just want to confirm that there never was going to be a signal for those of you who are watching, so you don't say that I'm just not giving something a chance. I just want to confirm that for you. And we are now at the 2-minute mark, and I can confirm that there was no signal. And for reasons that are very apparent and obvious to me, there never was going to be a signal in this particular game. Some of the underlying indicators that the algorithm tracks, and as I say, every single indicator is assigned a particular weight, and I could just see that there were a couple of flaws in particular with this game that made it such that in Q3 there wasn't going to be a signal. Didn't mean that those indicators were flawed in Q2, but certainly for Q3 there was no chance at a signal. Okay. Let's move on. So the Italian games are already in Q3, and they're moving along quite quickly. So let's. We won't have to be on for much longer. We'll look at this pretty quickly and see where we're at. So both games have a pretty good chance of generating signals. So we'll see what happens. These will be our last 2 games of the day, then we'll be off. I'm not pulling up either game yet because we don't have a bias, one game over the other. You can see they're both here, though. Italy Regional U20 games, the Victoria Torino game, and the Blue versus Lesmo games. They're both now the Blue Lesmo game is a minute, 2 minutes ahead. So it'd be great if we could track that one and then jump on the other one if it doesn't yield a signal. We'll plan on doing that, but at this point, there's no reason to be on either game. So let's just know that those are the games on our radar, and let's just track these exclusively. Again, to recap, people who join in, people who join out, who leave the stream, people who join in midstream. Just a quick 1 hour stream here on a Monday. Slow. International basketball Mondays are always very slow, light schedule all the time. We jumped on, we got a trade, and we were successful. So we're 1-0. We had a second one that almost came off. There was a whistle at the 2:04 mark, which basically took away any opportunity we had at taking the trade. Just so we're clear, my sportsbook, which I'm using, Bet365 today, never gave an opportunity. The signal was 82.5. Whistle at 2:04, 83.5, which prevented 82.5 from coming up. So no trade. But had we been able to get that trade off, they did score ultimately 84 points in the quarter. So the 82.5 would have worked. So psychologically, that's a win. But on the books, we're strictly 1-0, and just looking at these Italian regional games, we're looking at a 5-minute stream here max, and then we're out of here. Let's see if we can get one of these off right now. Still very slim chance of getting these bets off. Our algorithm was designed to err on the side of caution. It was 3 years in the development. We went from extremely loose conditions where it was generating dozens of signals to see if it could still be profitable, to extreme strict parameters where it was literally yielding the odd signal now and then, to see if it was best to limit it to that, to see if that was near 100% profitability, which it would have to be if you were yielding so few signals, to everything in between. And obviously, after 3 years of working with it, we've gotten to a point of optimization where the risk reward ratios are at their very best for this particular algorithm, and so that's what we do. So both games have lined up in terms of their time. So we've got to watch them both concurrently instead of consecutively, but that's not a problem. Obviously, it's only a couple of games. Neither game, though, is yielding internal Q3 indicators that are likely to generate a signal. So we've been on for roughly about an hour now. We're 1-0, and we're probably going to wrap it up in the next, I would say, 5 minutes tops. Love to get a second signal off for everyone. Anyone? Obviously, we're just beginning our streaming. Have a long way to go to establish any kind of a viewership, but one step at a time. Let's call out some winning signals, and the rest will take care of itself, as I say. So we're down to 2 minutes of play before there'll be no more trades. There isn't anything coming close to being where we'd want it to be. Again, I know it's dull just looking at the screen. We're just looking at the Italy Regional U20 games. These two games right here are the games that matter. I'm looking at them on another screen, which is the screen upon which the proprietary algorithm rests and runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't trade 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but the algorithm keeps track of everything that's going on. We don't. We jump on fairly regularly, and we intend to have a fairly regular streaming schedule. But obviously, basketball is literally the sport that you can wager practically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is, in fact, for that very reason that we focused our algorithm on basketball. It provides sports bettors with opportunities anytime, and we like it. It's down to 1 minute of stop time before we have anything, and there isn't going to be a signal. The second game, the Blue Lesmo game, definitely not going to be a signal. The Victoria Torino game, also not looking likely, but we'll follow that one. So there's our game. As you can see, these Italian regional games are typically quite flawed in their scoring. It's very difficult to reconcile the play of these teams. You look at Q2, Victoria outscores the other team 14-6. Fairly decent quarter after having traded baskets in the first quarter. So you figure, yeah, they're there, they're in the game, everything's looking great. And you turn around to Q3 and you see them being outscored 24-4. It's and a team that scores 24 after having scored 6 the previous quarter. So difficult to get the algorithm to pick up accurate signals based on those types of internals. And that's just the scoring. As you can imagine, there are so many other indicators that come into play in terms of calculations. But just on what you see on the face, without even going into the second and third pages of the score sheet, you're just looking at this. You just look up at the scoreboard and you look at it and you go, "Whoa, something going on here." But there's no signal. We're down to 2 minutes and what does it say? 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And there isn't enough there to generate a signal, not even a half a unit play on this particular one. So this one goes away. Other game is already beyond the 2 minute mark. So that was it for today. 1-0 short stream. Hopefully there was some benefit here, and you can see what it is we're doing at least. So let's recap who we are. That's our disclaimer again. Pause the video to the stream to take a look at our disclaimer. This is who we are, and that's what we do. You can pause it to see what it is we do. If you want to contact us, here we are. There's our email address, and this is who we are on Twitter. We'd love a follow. We'd love to hear your comments, compliments, criticisms, whatever it is you have. We intend to provide a service that maximizes value of services to our customer base. And if we can do anything to improve our streams, if we can do anything to assist you in what it is your sports trading goals are, please reach out to us, and we will do whatever we can to help you out. We're here to help. We're here to make people consistently profitable, not just daily or weekly, but long term, monthly, into the several months, and hopefully for years to come, for those of you who do this as a business, and for those of you who do it recreationally. Anyway, that's it. Let's sign off, and we'll see you next time.